so that we're socially distanced. So I'm just going to talk to you this morning just a little bit about reception. I'm going to tell you a few things about a typical day, just how we base our the curriculum that we follow, the clubs that would be available, and lo and behold, and I dread saying it, if we ever went back into lockdown again, what would happen? But I'm fingers crossed and hopeful that it's not going to happen. I know lots of people that have been vaccinated this week, lots. So it's real, it does happen. So a typical day, obviously in reception, we follow the early years curriculum just like they do in nursery. Following the early years curriculum allows for us to learn through play. So they continue in reception for the whole of that year to learn through play their curriculum that they follow. We have a free flow setup. So for those of you that are fortunate that you've toured and you can remember it, we do have 3 classrooms set up and an outside area, even though we have 2 class bases, but we have lots of free flow. So we set our classrooms up into a language-based one, where lots of our reading and our book corner is, and lots of our writing and our small world for their language development. And then we have another classroom that's set up that's maths based, and it has our construction in it. And we have another classroom that's set up that's got our messy play, our creative side, a role play, and those sorts of things. And we have an outside area that is just ours, that they have free flow between all of them. We are fortunate that we have 2 classes, 2 reception classes, and in each of those classes there is a teacher and there is a TA. So we have 4 adults. So it means that we can open up all 4 areas and have an adult in them, so they continually get that free flow, so that they can use the learning that we've done on the carpet in our smaller sessions and take it into their independent work and their learning through play. In the first 2 terms, we don't have a fixed playtime. They stay with us throughout the morning. We have a snack time within that, but because it's free flow and they get the opportunity to be outside whenever they want to, we don't have to send them off for half an hour or 20 minutes to be in a playtime without us. And it gives us that opportunity for them to be independent learners and go off and do things, but for us to have more time with them to do small group work. So we do a literacy session most days and a phonics session that we'll do in small in our class group sessions. And then any activity that we want to do to follow that up, we would work with an individual or with a smaller group. So it gives us that flexibility across the day to be able to make sure that we don't miss anybody out, that they all get that opportunity to work on a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2 or a small basis, as well as those inputs from the class teacher for their maths, for their topic, for their phonics. We do start phonics straight away. So as soon as they come into us, we do start phonics, and we do have a phonics session for 10 minutes, and then we start building up for it to be a little bit longer. We do start reading straight away. The phonics is part of our reading, so we make sure that that's included. We make sure that we start that. We run workshops to support all of you guys, so that we're obviously doing it the same way to support your child. We treat them all as individuals for their curriculum and for their education. They all come to us. And yours are all coming to us, and Miss Compton's going to talk a bit about the preparation that she does, getting them ready to a certain stage. But they still all come at different levels with different needs and different wants, different things that they're good at, that we want them to shine at. So we make sure that we tailor our curriculum to suit those needs. We follow a creative curriculum that we change each half term. A couple of examples of that are the first half term is normally all about me, and we'll have a role play that's based on a kitchen. It's amazing the mimicking they do of what goes on in your kitchen. So just be careful with those bottles of wine and things that go on at the moment when you're all struggling with this lockdown, because they'll bring it into school and we'll see it all. A word of warning there.
We're already doing it in nursery. I'd like to point that out.
It's great. We might do, towards Christmas, we might do celebrations. This half term we're doing around the world. So although we're in lockdown, we're still following our topic. They're still getting everything that they would, as much as they can, remotely from us, as they would do in school. We still have specialist lessons that they go out to. So as part of their curriculum, as part of their day across the week, they'll go for 2 PE slots, and they'll have a dance slot, they'll have drama, they have music with a specialist, they have French, and they go swimming. They go to the forest every other week, and the week that they don't go to the forest, they cook. So we go to the cookery room and they get to use the facilities in the cookery room. The classrooms are set up for us to be able to do that, and we work closely with those specialist teachers. Our TAs, our teaching assistants, go with them, so there's always a familiar face. They never go anywhere without somebody that they know that is part of their secure reception environment, that even though they're familiar with the school, they're familiar going to lunch, it's still a change. It's still something that will throw them slightly. So we work closely with you on those sorts of things. We will be doing some transition events. Your children are very fortunate because I do pop in and out of nursery all the time, so they do know who I am. And likewise, what happens in the summer term, that the other reception teachers do that as well. And our TAs, they do that as well. So we make sure that they've got time so that they can go, they can become familiar, and they do all of those activities to do that. As I say, it is learning through play. It is a creative curriculum. It follows all of those sorts of things. A typical structure of a day is that they come to the gate between 8 and 8:30. They come, they have a carpet input with us. They, in their first term, definitely really only go to one assembly. So they go to celebration assembly, but nothing else. They'll come back, they'll have a 10-minute input, then it would be free flow. Then they might have a small input again, and it would be snack. Then they might go off for a specialist lesson, come back, have a bit of free flow, get ready for lunch, go to lunch, and then the same thing happens again in the afternoon. So, and we tailor it to what suits them. Each cohort of children will be very different, and we make sure that it's right for them and right to guide them on the path so that we can reach their full potential. We don't have clubs in the September, in the autumn term. It's a very long day, it's very intense, and clubs aren't the right thing for them. They need to relax, not be going into something else. Clubs build up in the spring term. So if we'd been at school this term, there was a gardening club, and there was a pom-pom club, and there was a puzzle club, and those sorts of clubs for them in the spring term, and then it steps up again in the summer term. Obviously there's wraparound care there, as there normally would be. Lockdown. For our reception children, I think it's best to explain what's happened for them this year, because exactly the same would happen again. So we use a platform called Seesaw, where we can post work, and we can record ourselves, and they get a video of us, which teaches them how to do things and some activities on there. But we also do some live lessons. So we do a balance. It's not the whole day that's taught live because it's too much on a screen for them. We make it as active and as play-based as we possibly can. So a typical example of that is last week I was doing addition. The lesson was live. So I was being recorded throwing pom-poms into buckets. I then had to tip the buckets out and work out how many I had altogether. So it was a physical, practical activity, as we would do. And then the same was then posted on Seesaw for them to do it. They could upload their work as a video, they could take it as a photo, they could draw me a picture. It gives them that variety, but we're there for the live lesson. They then go off and do that activity. We then do lots of feedback. There's always a story time. So we have done a live form time, a live either maths or English input, a live phonics every day, a story time that's recorded every day, and if it's not maths that's been live, it would be a recorded session. And then the afternoon sessions, there's a grid for you to choose activities that fit in with our topic. So we've had artists going on, or we had a week where we were looking at around the world. We went to the polar region, so parents made ice cubes and they watched how it melted and all sorts of things like that. So we tried to make it as practical and as fun, excuse me, as we would normally in school. I'm hoping that's covered most of the questions that came through about those sorts of things, but I am not going anywhere. So once Ms. Compton has spoken, you can ask some questions if there's anything further. I hope that was helpful.
Cool. And just to have a little go with everybody, just to let you know what we're kind of already doing in nursery. I know there's been questions related to phonics, writings and number. We're doing that all the time now. They've been doing it ever since they started with the nursery. We recently this term started doing 2 little phonics sessions a week. We're introducing them to 2 of the sounds from set 1 of Read Write Inc, which is what reception follow, and we're also embedding that with Jolly Phonics. So you'll be seeing them obviously doing actions alongside that, because it's really good for them remembering the sounds with those actions. After half term, we're going to be starting reading with the children. These involve reading books that they will be bringing home to share with you. These books have no words in them, because the first stage of reading is actually more important than understanding what's written on a page, is actually understanding what's going on with a picture, and can the children tell a story from the pictures in the books. So those will be coming home with you. I will have little instructions as well if you're not 100% sure what that's all about, but that's not a problem. Moving on into the summer term, we do, and hoping, if we're kind of, I say back to normal, but that's a dangerous statement at the moment, even nursery will still be open, we're hoping. So we will be able to come over into the reception space. There, as Mrs. Nunn said earlier, there are 3 classrooms. We will use one of the classrooms that are currently not being used by the key worker children, and do our morning activities in one of those classrooms once a week. Obviously, we need to sort out what day it is, and I know not all nursery children attend on every day. So we'll try and rotate that so that all the children get opportunity to come into reception and start becoming familiar with the space. The children do walk past reception on their way to lunch, so they are kind of already getting familiar with the environment. So they see Mrs. Nunn regularly, and I know they'll start meeting some of the reception team through story times and things in the summer term. So they're the sorts of things we'll be doing. There was a question about keeping friendship groups together. We try our best. Obviously, there are 2 classes and those classes are next to each other. So if they're not with all of their best buddies, they will still get to see those children in the free flow play. So it's not like they're going to be completely segregated from all members of the class all the time. They'll do little group work, as Mrs. Nunn said. And sorry.
And we split them a different way
Yes.
to their class groups for their specialist teaching.
Yeah.
So that it caters for that, so that those friendship groups are always, that are very well formed, that would still be there and can still move on with that. Yeah.
So they do, please don't be concerned that they're not going to be with their friends. But as I say, what we do, I ask all of the adventurer children, as I say, as we come into the summer term, you know, who they would like to be with in reception in their class. I ask for 2 or 3 options so I can try and pair them with at least one of those. And then Mrs. Nunn and I work together just to make sure those groups are well balanced with friendships. I think that is answering the questions that were on the list. Is there anybody that's got any specific questions after hearing Mrs. Nunn and myself and Mrs. Forster at the beginning? Is there anything anybody would like to ask us? Oh, Mrs. Ollie, you've got your hand up. Well done. You've done this before.
Well, you know, having asked them to do things all the time, I know how to make my homework. I don't know if it's too early for you to do this, but do you know who the reception teachers are next year?
Sorry, I can't hear you that clearly. Could you repeat that, please?
Do you know who the reception teachers are?
Do we know who the reception teachers are yet?
Do you know what? I've only just started looking at staffing. I had a question this week at the beginning of the week. Could I start to look at timetables and staffing? And I have to say I haven't done it yet this week, Mrs. Ollie. I'm very sorry. It's just been a couple of other things going on. As soon as we know that, and we try to do that before we do any of our major transition things, so that you're aware, so that the children are aware, so that they're not becoming familiar with somebody that then won't be there. So it's a little bit up in the air at the moment. We also talk to staff, and you know, some staff want to move around, some staff like to have a bit of a change, not stay in the same classroom. So we factor all of that in, but that is my job. And it will be definitely decided after half term, but we just obviously have to factor all of those things in.
Oh.
I think Mrs. Tonner put her actual hands up, not her virtual hands up.
Oh, Mrs. Tonner. We can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh, I can hear you now. Lovely.
I didn't put my virtual one up, sorry.
Oh, I think we've got something on our toolbar. Hang on. There we are. No, I can't see it. Carry on anyway. Yeah. It's just a hand.
In regards to swimming, obviously because a lot of them haven't been able to go swimming in public swimming pools or anything, is that taken into account and sort of in the smaller end happened?
I mean, that's a really valid question, but we've got to remember that children that came to us this September hadn't been swimming because they'd had a lockdown already. So actually, we made sure that we had enough staff, that we made groups slightly smaller so that we could cater for the fact that they hadn't had the experiences that quite often the children come to us in September with. So we do make sure that we factor that in with the swimming. This academic year, those children obviously hadn't been swimming, and you know, lockdown in March, and then I don't think very many people then did, when the pools opened up again, go because it was fitting something in, or there were too many people, or the environment, etc., etc. So we did cater for it this year, and it was still very successful. So we are aware of that. Miss Herbert, who runs our swimming now, is absolutely amazing with the younger children. She's brilliant. She's really, really good, and her specialism is swimming. She's not just a PE teacher. She is a swimming teacher, having done it. Having got lots and lots of qualifications, and that was actually part of her teaching qualification as well, not just a swimming teacher. And
one question is, do you know how the big class size is in reception? Is it going to be 2 or 3 classes?
I take that.
Yes, please, Mrs. Forster.
This is just the time of year when I get asked this question by lots of people, parents included. And I can promise you that predicting pupil numbers is an art, not a science. But my best guess at the moment is that we're going to have 2 classes, and that they will be about 12 or 14 if we're lucky. I will know a lot more in the next half term, and I'll know a lot more after Easter when the state schools have been published. And I'm really happy to answer at any time. You know, if you ask me what are my thoughts now, I'm really happy to keep you updated. Last year, I think several times through the year, the class rep for that year group asked me and then passed the information on. So I'm more than happy to keep that dialogue going. But that's my best guess right now.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Mrs. Donovan Baker's got her hand up.
Mrs. Donovan Baker, your hand is up.
Hi.
Hello.
2 questions. My first question is, when it comes to dropping them off for the first day, previously we've been able to walk them round. Obviously, with the situation, that may not be possible. Is there something being put in place to maybe stagger the starting or something?
So this year, so prime example, in September, we obviously couldn't do that. We weren't allowed anybody on site. So we staggered the start. We made their start. It was a Thursday and Friday, and both of those days you got the opportunity to come and park. So we started at 9 so that the car park was clear. There were no other children around, so that it was calmer for them. So all the teachers and the TAs all came down to the gate. Parents could get out their car and be socially distanced and say goodbye to them properly, take a photo at the school gate, take a photo at the front door of the school, all of those things. We factored all of that in, and if the same happens, then we will do that again. We will, of course, stagger it. I actually think it was much, much better anyway, that even if we're back to normal,
we'll do it.
That is what we will probably do, because it was much, much nicer for parents and for children. It worked a lot better, and it was a good transition. It's one of those things that we've learnt. And it's forever evolving, communication between us and parents, and then the feedback that we've had. We like to obviously act on that and make it as best that we possibly can.
Lovely. My second question is there going to be anything set up maybe for the new external children and parents, that we can meet them and the kids can kind of see their faces and get to know them?
Yeah, so again, we talked about this last year, even in lockdown. We had Miss Compton and I and some of the team came in and did a picnic on the field when no one else could be there, to give the opportunity for you guys to see the new parents, the children to see the new children, to make those links. And we will do something exactly the same. If we can do it before the end of term, we'll do it before the end of term. And if we can't, and we have to do it in holidays, because it has to be a set number of children and a set group size, we'll do it in the holidays. So yes.
We're planning to actually set up all of the dates that we usually do for the transition events we have through the summer term. And for those, it's both new children and parents and current children and parents who are invited. Obviously, at the moment, I can't say whether that's actually going to be possible to run those, but we're going to plan them in. And then if we can't run them nearer the time, we'll either split them into smaller groups or do something virtual or push them back. But we'll start with, you know, what we usually do and hope to work around it.
Lovely, thank you.
I'm not sure if it's Mr. or Mrs. Davis or both, because I've got Harry on the screen. Your hand is up.
Oh, sorry, it's me. No, I
That's
have.
all right,
I was just going to. Hello. I was just going to ask a question about numbers as well. Sorry, and yeah, and he's doing his Cornic practice in the background, so I'll go. But no, it sounds really good. Can't wait. Thanks.
Good, lovely. Mrs. Wright, your hand is up. You got a question for us?
Yeah, just two quick things. I'm assuming that you still use Tapestry in reception as you do in nursery, so you're nodding there. That's great. And the second thing was
unless we're in lockdown.
Pardon?
We don't use Tapestry while we're in lockdown because running the Seesaw and the Tapestry is too much for you guys and for us and for the children. But yes, we do normally use Tapestry.
Okay, great. And the second question was just whether or not there's a particular maths scheme that is used, like White Rose or something like that, or is it a mixture of combination?
No, so we follow Mastery Maths in line with the rest of the school. So we are online with Mastery Maths, and we introduced that right from the very beginning.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any more hands? I can't see any more hands. Oh, hang on, there is a hand. Hang on, there's a hand.
It's from Mrs. Stace.
Yeah, we were just wondering about homework. Are they expected to do homework at that age, or does that start later? No.
Reading. So reading comes in, and there might be a couple of games, but no. They have a very long, intense day at school, believe me, when they're that age, and it is non-stop. They love it, but it is non-stop. They need to come home and relax.
Good.
And you don't need any pressure.
No.
Do they bring school back? Do they bring book back from school, or we provide the books at home? So that...
We provide books, so books come backwards and forwards from school.
Cool, perfect. They can choose. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the ones that we're going to be doing with them in nursery after half term, they get to choose those as well. We've got a really good selection, so they can get to choose. And we try and do them sort of on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and then you can have them for the week, and then we swap them each week.
Still a hand up.
Is there?
Nope.
Oh no.
Sorry, yeah, it was me. Just to ask another question, I apologise. Just do they get the option of going to the library as the other year groups do, and potentially?
Actually. This is what I'm not loving about lockdown. We had started to plan this for nursery this term. We've got books ready for them to bring home and share, but at the moment we're not able to do that. I think in reception it's going to be the same. Yeah. But again, at the moment, due to lockdown, we can't do that, but there will be opportunities for them to do that, hopefully in the summer term, maybe in nursery, and then they'll feed that through into reception when they join.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks for your questions. A couple of things occurred to me while I was listening to you, thinking about how you can support your children. Last year, because we couldn't do our transition events in the summer term because of the first lockdown, we actually created some voiceover PowerPoints and some little PDF books of things that you can do with your children at home. So of course, the brilliant thing is we've already got those resources. So we can share those with you later in the year. There'll be things that you can talk to the children about joining reception. And you know, some things you can do at home to really help them feel ready for that. So we'll definitely be able to share those with you. And also, some of you might not have been able to visit the reception classrooms. So even if we're not able to do an actual event in the classroom, depending on the restrictions at the time, I'm really optimistic that we'll get back to a point where we'll be able to do tours after the end of school. So, you know, even if you're a parent currently in the school, that doesn't mean you can't ask me for a tour of the reception classroom or of any other part of the school. So if you would like to have a look around anything, once we are able to do that, then please do get in touch and we'll make that arrangement for you. Is there anything else that anyone can think of right now? Mrs. Tonner.
Hello. Hi. I know this is probably maybe a little bit random, but in regards, because obviously I've got Avery in year 1, and I don't know if you've had this from other parents regarding uniform. Obviously with lockdowns coming and going so randomly, obviously I've bought clothes for Avery, uniform for Avery, and he's now grown out of it already. Are you going to be a little bit more relaxed in a sense of maybe uniform?
Yeah, I think that's something to obviously take back to Mr. Chesworth, I think.
I obviously understand they need to wear uniform, but as in like blazers and things, like I've held off buying Avery a blazer, thank God, and I'm glad I did. But in regards to obviously things like how much they need of a certain subject, like for PE, I know that we ended up buying loads of.
And actually, I think when Avery was in reception, we hadn't factored that in quite as much as we do now. So those children that have come into reception this year, we did talk very openly to parents and say they wear a tracksuit on this amount of days and they wear school uniform on this amount of days, due to the way that the timetable is fixed, which we will share in the transition events in the summer term. But until I've done that timetabling, I can't tell you which days is which. And some days it works that you might have a PE session in the morning and Forest School in the afternoon, whereas other years Forest School has been on a different day. So then it would be an additional day that you would wear your PE kit. And until I finalise timetables, but we will make sure that we do share that with you so that you are aware.
Okay, thank you.
I just have to say hello to Hattie because she's on the screen.
I was just going to say the same. Hi, Hattie.
Say hello.
Hi. And I saw Lenny earlier as well.
Yeah,
Lenny was there. I can see Mum nodding.
It's always very important that we say hello to those small people.
Yeah, I can see she's
and
coming.
I saw Carrington too. Hi, Carrington. Not the hill.
There's Lenny. Hi, Lenny.
Hi, Lenny.
He's feeding at the moment, so I won't show you him.
That's fine. We said enough. No, that's important.
Yes, very.
Are there any other questions?
Well, thank you so much for coming. Obviously, as I said in my email to you, if you have got questions, please let me know. And if it's something I can answer, I will. If not, I'll pass you on to Mrs. Nunn or whoever I think would be the right person to ask. So, you know, keep talking to us. We know it's a really difficult time moving from nursery to reception. It's a big deal starting big school, and the current restrictions do make it harder. But we also feel really confident that we were able to make that transition as easy as possible last year, and we can do that again. But do let us know if you've got any concerns. And we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you at one of our events in the summer term.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.